Aha! Part 27 of the eLiquid database. So basically, as far as the control panel's concerned, we have these three buttons left to do at the bottom, and it should be possible for me to get this done in one hit today, which would mean that the control panel was finished. But it won't, because I'm going to move the goalpost slightly. Because I've realised, I think maybe I've forgotten and remembered, or I don't know. But anyway, I want an additional button on here, which I'm going to add now. Just the button, not going to do anything to it. So we shall, not that one. We shall look at the design view for the control panel. I shall add a little button. We will cancel out of anything there. And this one is going to be, what is it going to be? Ingredient summary, like that. Now we'll make it a bit wider. That might be too wide. That's not wide enough. Ingredient summary, there we go. And we'll sort of make it the same height as that. Let's do a range, I think it is. Size to tallest. Yeah, that works. So we'll just plop it in somewhere around about there, and that's all we're going to do with it for now. We'll concentrate on getting these three buttons that we already had finished first, but just so I don't forget, I want to include this one on there. And essentially what it's going to do is when you click this button, it's going to open up a list of all of the ingredients, and basically to one side of those the total amount of that ingredient that we have. So it's going to go in and count up all the milliliters remaining in each bottle of that ingredient and stick that in there. And we'll also be able to just click on that and have a look at all the ingredients. So yeah, it's quite a useful one really, and it replicates something I had in the old spreadsheet that as of yet this database doesn't have that functionality. So it's something I want. There's the button for it, but we'll get to that another time. So what we do need to do is on the mixes area down here, we've got a view all button, which currently does nothing. Now, essentially all we need to do is to open up the mix form like that with this button, because that opens up and you can see down here in the record count all of our mixes, and we can go through them a bit like this. So that's essentially all that button needs to do. So I'll do that bit of code and I'll be back. Alright, and that's all it takes really. We've got an on-click handler for the button. I'm using one of my public functions, the form opener function. We're passing over the name of the form. We don't actually need any criteria or any arguments, so we just pass empty strings for those. And if we have a look at what that does, when we click view all, we get the mix form opening up with all mixes being in there. So yeah, that kind of that controls that completes the view all button. But if we look at this form, it's not really suitable for that, because in the the finished item of this database, this record navigation won't be present. So yeah, I'll just basically open up the first record and they will be stuck. So we need to add in a couple of buttons up here, and this to do basically is a reminder for me to do that. So one of the things is a next previous button. So I'm going to go ahead and create next and previous buttons, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are. We've added a couple of buttons to the top here, previous and next, that we can use to navigate through the records. And let's have a quick look at the code, which is incredibly simple. So down at the bottom here, we've got one click handler for the previous button, one click handler for the next button, and the bit of command is basically telling it to go to a record, go to the previous record and go one. So we can skip back one record, and the next one is to go to the skip forward one record basically. So that kind of on the face of it does it, but there are some issues. There is no intelligence involved here. So if I click the next button, it goes to the next, and if I click it again, it goes to the next, and if I click it again, it'll go to the new, which I don't really want to do when I'm viewing. I want to reserve, creating new records for when I specifically ask to do that from the control panel here. So I want it to stop it to I want to stop it, allowing us to go forward to a new record. And even worse than that, if we click next again, we'll get an error because it's trying to go to the next record which doesn't exist. And kind of likewise really with the previous button, once we get to the first record it'll also error because yeah, you can't go to the record before the first one. So I need to deal with those two things, and what I'm going to do is basically, rather than dealing with it inside the click handler, is I'm just going to change the availability of these buttons. So for a start, we only really want these buttons available when we are viewing all mixes, and we only want the previous button enabled when the record is greater than the first one, so we don't cause that error. And we only want the next button to be enabled when we are before the last of our existing records. That way it won't create a new record and we won't get the end of record error where it can't actually move past the last record. So I'm going to do that code and I'll be back. Right, that's the code done. So to fix the first problem, basically when the form loads in the load handler, if there is a global RID, which would have been, as we know, if it's been opened to show a specific record, we will have something in the global RID variable, in which case we want to basically hide the both of the previous button and the next button. We don't want to see them if we are only looking at one record. So yeah, we just change them to false there. Otherwise, we are viewing all records, or certainly more than one record, so we want them visible. To solve the other problem, I've created a handler for the onCurrent event handler. And basically what we're doing is we're saying that the previous button is only enabled when the current record is greater than 1, and the next button is only enabled when the current record is less than the count of the current records in the record source. So if we have a look at that in action, you'll see that both of them are showing still here. That's because we are on record 2 of 3. If we go back one, we'll be at the first record and it is now disabled. If we move next, it becomes enabled again. Next is already enabled because we aren't at the last record, but if we click it again, we'll be at the last record and we can no longer move any which way, but yeah, free. So let's close that and save it. And what's the next button we need to do? Open. So what does this do? Well, when we select a mix here, that one for example, that was a mix on a specific date, we want to be able to click the open button and for us to be able to view that mix. So I'm going to quickly do that code right now. Okay, so here's the little click handler for the open mix button. It's basically checking to make sure that we've selected from the drop down which mix to open. Then it's using our form opener function, and we're specifying the form we want to open, which is a mix form, and we specify some filter criteria, being the mix ID equals the ID of the mix that we've selected in the combo, because that is the value of the combo. And that's about it, except for the fact that I've had to correct, well, not really correct, but change this little bit of code here down at the bottom that we did before for enabling or not the next and previous buttons. The reason for that is that I based the previous logic on the record count, or rather the count of records that have been returned, but that doesn't change when you filter the form. And seeing as we are opening this form with a filter now, just to show us one mix, it thinks that there are still multiple records, in our case 3 records, but we're only actually viewing one of them. So basically, to cut a very long story short, the next button was enabled even though there was only one record being able to view with the filter on, because it was looking at the background total number of 3 records. So yeah, basically what I've done is I've now taken that into account, and this is now based on how many actual records are being viewed, i.e. what's actually in this current record set, including filters. So that should fix that. If we select, let's say, Buzzkill from there, open it up, and we get not only Buzzkill from that date, which is the mix that we want, but both of these are disabled because it's one of one, and you know, obviously we can't go next or previous, so we'll abort out of that. So let me just tick why not oops, why not set these both to have their big old 6-point border so that we know they're done. So if I hadn't added that button up there earlier, it would be on the last button. But anyway, so let's do the delete button. Obviously what happens is you select a mix here, you click the delete button, and yeah, it deletes that. So I'll do it, and as always, I'll be back. So yeah, another pretty simple thing really going on here, more or less reusing the code for some other functions that we've done, or subroutines rather. So here's the click handler for the delete button. We basically once again check to see that there is a mix selected from the drop down. And the first thing that we do is we delete from the mixes table basically that mix, i.e. any mix with the mix ID that is the value of that drop down. And then if that goes ahead and all completes all right, and we approve it with this notification that we pass across to the function, then it will come back and it will then delete all of the mix ingredients relating to that mix also. So let's have a little check out if this works, and let's well, yeah, let's select the Buzzkill one, hit delete. Do we want to delete 10.3.17 Buzzkill? Yes we do, and it's deleted. So let's go. Well, there's a little problem there because this hasn't refreshed, so I need to do that. But let's check in the mixes table. Yep, that Buzzkill's gone from there. What's left is 19 and 22. So let's check the ingredients. And all that's left in here is 19 and 22. So it's deleted all the ingredients. So the only outstanding problem was that we just need to, where are we? We just need to, at the end here, do a me refresh. And yeah, that should do. We can just check that again by deleting, let's say, that one. Delete. Yes. Deleted. It's refreshed. There's one left. Okay, good. So that's all done. Let's go in and go into design view, select that, go into format, select the hairline, oops, change it to 6, run it again, and well, they're all ticked off. They're all done. So tomorrow, let's do this little ingredient summary one, and then hopefully really this time the control panel will be finished, at least for this run through. Watching paint dry would be more interesting.